Hey, so recently been putting out some short videos going over some of the really, really poor reasons why some people don't file for Social Security disability when they can and when they should. And by and large, it is based on misinformation, disinformation, and just not knowing what's up. So we went through in the first video, I listed a slew of them. And then we went more thoroughly into the first reason and why it was bogus. And then we had a subsequent video about the second and the third. And now is the fourth. And we will have the fifth. And I'll link you. If you go to the end of the video, I'll throw up the link for the first one that kind of goes through all. I think there's like 9, but there's more. I just didn't have time to go into more. It actually stemmed from an article I did for a local paper that I do a pseudo column in. Anyway, so number 4, and I'm looking at it right now. Some people are getting long-term disability insurance from through their employment. It's like one of those fringe benefits that was kind of attached to their employment compensation. That it's the kind of thing you don't often think about when you are working and well. But some employers provide this automatically, and some have it where if you pay a few dollars or less, maybe per pay period out of your check, you'll be covered. So you don't really notice that it's going out. So it's kind of an easy way to have disability insurance, which by and large is much easier to prevail on than Social Security disability. So they're definitely not equal. And that's like a private / commercial policy. It's not government connected. So it's often a wonderful thing for the people that have employers that provided that. And so if you don't know, if you were coming from an employer and you don't know if that was, something that was offered, I would suggest if you are either getting out of work soon because you can't physically or mentally do it anymore, and you've been treating, and you really think that's what's going to have to happen, look in advance and see if that's something that's available, because if there is, there might be a short-term disability coverage too, which are usually kind of like 2 separate policies, really. And so if you get to the short and you're still unable to return to work, you can often secure the long-term. And long-term can be a set period of time they give it to you, like 2 years, and some of them actually go I want to say forever, but it might be just until you're of Social Security retirement age. Anyway, the thing about LTD policies today, we find, is that number one, they are by and large, and I'm not going to say 100% because I don't know if there's some old policies with kind of the old way of doing it still in their policies, which was where you could get both Social Security disability and your long-term disability both and have a really comfortable time financially. But by and large, now that's not the case. I believe to save on premiums that the employer is paying most of, or the employee is contributing, they have a provision that says if you prevail with our long-term disability policy, you have to file for Social Security disability, and then we get to offset the difference if you prevail on Social Security disability. So basically, if they were going to pay you $4,000 a month, but then you end up getting $2,000 a month from Social Security disability, under the terms of many of these LTD policies, you wouldn't get the $6,000 total. Like the Social Security would have nothing to do with it. They're always going to pay you your amount, but your contract with your LTD policy insurer would have it that once you win Social Security disability, they are going to reduce whatever they were paying you. So say it was $4,000 by the $2,000 you're getting for Social Security disability, and then paying you the $2,000 balance. So you're still getting the $4,000 amount that you'd be getting under the LTD. But it's the amount, and it's coming from over there, Social Security disability and the LTD company. It kind of stinks, but it's better than certainly not having it at all, right? So anyway, sometimes people are on the LTD and then they realize they had to file for Social Security disability because the LTD the terms of their policy require it, or else they can be dropped from LTD. So they really have no choice. I will say that sometimes the LTD carrier is going to kind of funnel them to it's like a SSD filing company. It may not be someone who can ever take it to hearing or do any of the workup with you, but they'll file your application and then you run with it. So they're technically your representative, I think. But then if you have to go to hearing, they are not, and or they give you to, an attorney that's never represented you and doesn't know your file. I don't find that that's the ideal way to go, but it's I presume better than not having a representative at all. But anyway, so you have to file, whether you're going to use their funneling, which you're not required to do, to use whoever they send you to at all. So that's something you really need to know. If it comes where you have to file, which is generally by and large true. And that's only one reason why you would be filing for SSD. I'll tell you the other in a minute. You can always pick. You don't have to use the advocate that they funneled you to. You can find somebody else, and I should always repeat that in this country, you can use any attorney in the country, and there might even be non-attorney reps that work on a national level. So depending on whether you really want an attorney or not, but so you could be in California and I have California clients and I'm in Pennsylvania. Because everything's technological, at least for those of us that are really, really experienced in this area. We do it the same way the SSA does it. That's the best way to work within that system. And so you really have the right, the federal right under SSA rules to use anyone in the country, as long as they are, if you're going to do an attorney, they've got to be licensed in one of the 50 states. If you're using a non-attorney, they're not licensed anywhere. So that's kind of like the risk you take. But although they are often registered with the SSA as a non-attorney representative. So you have that. Or you can use your mom and she could be your representative. It's really kind of open. But anyway, so you have to file or else they will discontinue benefits because you are now no longer fulfilling your end of the contract, meaning the LTD policy. But aside from the fact that you have to, and some people don't know that, or maybe they have a policy where you don't have to, like maybe if it was privately purchased, I don't know. So, but here's what happens. If you don't file for Social Security disability and you do not return to work, and let's say you are getting that LTD and you're like, I'm comfortable, and no one's forcing me to file for SSD, so why would I? Well, here's why. When you stop working, you are now changing the whole, there's a couple of reasons though. You are now changing the whole future landscape of what your retirement is going to look like, potentially. And the younger you are, the further you are away from retirement age, as per the SSA rules, is the more it may impact your benefit amount. And this is because our PIA, primary insurance amount, is calculated based on our top 35 years of working income. So when they give you your estimate in your Social Security earnings statement, which you can download and should at least annually at ssa.gov/my account, that estimate that they give you in there presumes that you continued working at this nice high rate you've been working at because you're so experienced now until 62. And therefore, if you stop working at 52, that's 10 years of that higher income that you've been making lately that they have used in their calculation that doesn't end up existing. So that's why they call it an estimate, because they're estimating it, including a few presumptions, that if the presumptions don't turn out to be, that is not going to be your retirement amount. If you worked half of the 35 years and you become disabled and don't file, you feasibly just split your retirement in half. because you have all these zeros that have to be averaged in to find out the base calculation for the monthly amount, and then you get a percentage off of that. Similarly, whatever years you do have, the first 10 years we work, we don't make squat. I mean, we're inexperienced and young. We may not have our education yet if we were going to get it, or we don't have our skill set. Whatever it is, we tend to earn more per hour, per pay period, per week, per month. And this is notwithstanding inflation. This is just generally, if you don't even account for that. We earn more as we get older. So if you would have worked till 62, those high-end years would have replaced some of those crappier years when you were younger in terms of income. And it makes for such a difference in the benefit amount you're going to get. So if you fail to file for SSD because you're sitting comfy with your LTD and you're not being forced to file for it, which is unusual, but it does happen, you could be crushing your retirement benefit. So if your LTD benefit ends, now you're stuck with a retirement, and only the retirement that is really puny. I mean, I'm talking, it could be dwarfed. It could really be dwarfed. So just throwing that out there. LTD, not only will it generally force you to file if you want to keep getting your LTD benefits, but if you don't file for SSD, I'd say most people are hurting their retirement benefit amount, unfortunately. Remember also that filing for SSD means you're going to get your full retirement amount no matter how young you are. And you never have to, you're never going to have a compulsion to file at age 62 and take a 30% discount permanently on your retirement, because you're already allowed to get the full retirement without penalty. I'm calling it a penalty. It's not really a penalty. It's a discount based on the fact that it's still coming from your own money. There's a whole nother video on that. So when people shouldn't think that they're being penalized, they're actually just taking an extra 50 something months of payments that other people aren't taking. So, but you don't have to worry about that if you're on SSD, because your SSD is your full retirement amount, just taken in the name of SSD at whatever year, and it continues up until you're 67 or whatever your full retirement age is. Most of us now, that's what it's going to be. And you never have to worry about that lowered amount. So we've got a few reasons in there, why you do not want to let LTD fool you into not collecting your SSD. Okay. And one more reason, Medicare. You could be 25 if you get on SSD and you're on it for, 24 months worth of payments, you're going to get Medicare. You're not going to be stuck with the welfare Medicaid, or have to buy your own if you're not eligible for the Medicaid because you're not poor enough. You'll get Medicare. So, or be eligible for Medicare. And by and large, people take Medicare when they're eligible for it. You will not have to wait till age 65. So that can be, and I just did a video on this for somebody, that can be one of the biggest reasons to get Social Security disability, even more than the cash benefit. The health benefit can be leaps and bounds more important than the cash benefit for a lot of people. And that might be particularly true for those that are getting the LTD when they're not getting Medicare with it. Okay. So that is bad reason number 4 for not filing, because you're getting LTD, long-term disability insurance. Not a good reason. Okay. I think the next video is going to be on related to workers' comp. So if anyone's interested in that, I'll share it to you. But all right, I hope this helps, guys, and I will try to throw up a couple links to the related bad reasons and things related to LTD in particular. All right, bye now.